Tuesday, my daughter told the pension office I was unable to manage my affairs. By Friday, the church, the pharmacy, and the high school robotics team were at my door, with signatures, timestamps, and a lab notebook I hadn't opened in years. I didn't shout. I ran a demonstration. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. It helps more than you think. The accusation landed in my mailbox like a lab sample mislabeled on purpose. Concerned relative statement, it read, and the signature at the bottom belonged to my only child, Laura. The form alleged progressive confusion, erratic behavior, and unsafe medication practices. My pension administrator had temporarily paused disbursements pending review. Temporarily, the word bureaucrats love when they mean break the knees and call it rest. I'm 69, retired industrial chemist, adhesives, catalysts, epoxy systems for aircraft panels, work most folks never think about until a wing holds together during a thunderstorm. After 43 years of weighing grams like promises, precision becomes a language lived, not learned. That afternoon I brewed tea the way Christine taught me before she left and set the kettle to sing. Then I found the old green lab notebook, spine cracked, paper stiff with memories, and laid it beside the letter. My hands, still steady. At 5, Pastor Linda knocked, hair damp from the rain. "Heard from the clerk," she said, lowering her voice. "Is everything all right?" Behind her stood Malik, the robotics coach, and Matt from Henderson's Pharmacy with a clipboard. People who had seen me every Tuesday for years without asking for anything except honest advice or a signature. "We're here if you need witnesses," Malik said, "and a camera if you want one. I've got the team's gimbal in the truck." "Witnesses for what?" I asked. "For the truth," Pastor Linda answered. "We sat at the table where my daughter once did 6th grade algebra while I checked titrations in a lab 3 towns over. Matt slid a typed note toward me. "Record shows you pick up lisinopril every 30 days, never early, never late," he said. "And you corrected me last week when I nearly handed you 10 milligram on a tablet instead of 5. Saved me a retraining, Doc." "I'm not a doctor," I said. "You are to all of us," he replied. I opened the lab notebook. Page 1. Cure times versus ambient humidity. Winterline. I ran my finger over pencil notations that still smelled faintly of graphite and oil, tempered certainty. I slid the notebook to Malik. "You want a demo? We'll run one Saturday. Public. Repeatable. Not dramatic. Correct." He grinned. "We'll fill the community center." Pastor Linda folded the letter. "You'll need counsel," she said. "But first, you'll need to be seen." "Being seen isn't my favorite. Today," she said, gentle but firm, "it's your work." That night, I unscrewed a jar of epoxy and set it on the bench in the garage, the same place I taught Laura to read labels before I taught her to read novels. I slept without a pill. Sometimes rage chases sleep into a corner. Sometimes rage goes quiet when a man trusts the method more than the noise. Morning brought coffee and a decision to refuse the ancient father's trap, begging a child for mercy. Instead, I made a list, 2 columns, like any good trial, allegations and observations. Under allegations, I copied Laura's claims. Under observations, I listed what anyone in town could testify to. Class rosters at the high school where I'd taught polymer basics on Thursdays since 2014, library talks signed by those who attended, the date stamps from the hardware store where I showed Hank's nephew how to read MSDS sheets without panicking. Facts are patient until you point at them. The pension office called at 9. "We have a concerned relative's report," the woman said, voice rehearsed. "We must ensure beneficiary capacity." "What does your policy define as capacity?" I asked. "Ability to understand benefits and manage them responsibly." "And what evidentiary standard do you apply?" A pause. Paper rustled. "We can consider medical notes, cognitive assessments, and community attestations." "Good," I said. "Expect all 3 by Friday. Meanwhile, mail me the specific policy citations used to justify the pause." "We don't usually." "You will," I said, calm as a neutral solution. "And please notarize receipt." I called Dr. Yates next, the same GP who cleared me to climb ladders after my knee replacement. "Arthur," she said, "come in today. We'll run MOCA and MMSE and anything else they adore, and I'll print a history note while you wait." At the clinic, I drew a clock that looked like a clock, not a starfish, counted backward by sevens with the comfort of a man who spent a career counting forward by thousands, named a rhinoceros in a line drawing, recalled the 5 words like I was reciting reagent names: velvet, church, daisy, red, face. "You're sharper than the fund's legal team," Yates muttered, signing her note. "Who filed the complaint?" "My daughter." "Bring an advocate," she said softly. "Not for you, for the process. They will test your patience." At noon, Malik parked the robotics trailer at our community center. He cleared the folding tables like a man setting an altar. "We'll demonstrate polymerization and tensile strength across adhesive sets with different humidity controls," he said. "Kids will run stopwatches." "And you'll film?" I said. "And we'll film," he echoed. Pastor Linda put a sign on the door. "Saturday, what holds us together? A demonstration." Back home, I called Laura. "We need to talk," I said. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked, voice honeyed with worry. "You've been forgetting checks at dinner. You left the kettle on last month." "I used the whistling kettle your mother loved," I said. "Design catches error. That's not confusion. That's redundancy." "I'm scared for you," she said. "And your pension is—" "My pension is the consequence of 43 years' labor. It is not a family allowance." Silence. Then the new American word when someone is cornered kindly: "Boundaries." "Yes," I said. "Let's keep them." "Dad, I didn't mean—" "You've meant too much without measuring it. Come Saturday. Bring anyone who doubts. Bring your spouse. Bring your questions." "Why are you making this public?" "Because you made it official," I said. "Public restores what rumor harms." Saturday tasted like coffee brewed for a town waking early without complaint. The robotics team moved with the practiced choreography of kids who understand time better than adults who waste it. Malik assigned pairs to stations. I printed handouts. "We'll keep it simple," I told the room when it filled with faces that looked like my life. Familiar, if you'd bothered to look. 3 adhesives, I said, holding up bottles. 1 off-the-shelf cyanoacrylate, 1 2-part epoxy, 1 polyurethane. 3 conditions: low humidity, ambient humidity, high humidity. We're testing cure and bond strength, not flashy, just true. We clamped strips of aluminum and oak. The kids labeled sample sets, A1 through C3. We logged humidity with a hygrometer borrowed from the high school greenhouse. "You'll think this is boring until your cabinet falls apart," I told a boy in a baseball cap. He laughed, then leaned closer. We started stopwatches. We wrote numbers: time to set, time to finger-tight strength, time to full cure. We used a simple pull test rig, weights, pulleys, a suitcase scale that read strain like a confession. At each reading, a teenager called out numbers, and Malik's camera caught our mouths speaking, our pens writing, our scale measuring. Triangulation, the moral kind. Witness, record, repeat. At the break, Pastor Linda poured coffee and read from the book of James about doing, not only hearing. Matt from the pharmacy brought a ledger of my prescription pickups, legal to share because I'd signed the release on the back of his truck. The librarian delivered a printout of my seminar sign-in since 2017 with dates precise as titrations. Laura stood in the back, arms crossed. I saw her before she saw me. Older now than Christine in my favorite memory. A good Sunday, a Chevrolet, a picnic with too much mustard. My daughter's hair bleached by worry in a box. Her face set in the expression of people who get ahead of themselves and call it leadership. "Why are you doing this?" she asked when the room paused to breathe between sets. "What are you proving, Dad?" "That the mind you described as lost still adheres to method," I said, "and that your father's community knows his name." "This is humiliating," she whispered. "Humility is better than humiliation," I replied, "but I'm fine with either if it gets us to clear." She exhaled hard. "You've always turned everything into a lesson, and you've always mistaken lessons for attacks." We resumed. In high humidity, the cyanoacrylate lied early, surface set, weak interior. The epoxy shrugged, steady, indifferent to weather. The polyurethane preferred a little water, bloomed like a flower. I talked about free radicals and inhibitors, about love being more like epoxy. Two parts that require careful proportion and patience in mixing, then like superglue, which holds until it doesn't, and then fails catastrophically. People laugh the way people do when the truth lands where they didn't expect it, but always recognized it. At the end, we traded guesses for which bonds would hold through the week. We promised to meet again next Saturday to break what we built on purpose. The robotics kids cheered like a game had ended and a team had won. Not mine. Theirs. Laura stayed when the room emptied. "I didn't mean to jeopardize your income," she said. "I worried when you corrected me at dinner and used the wrong word for the salad tongs." "Tweezers," I said, and smiled despite myself. "They do look like tweezers when you hold them wrong." "I panicked," she said, "and Jeremy—" She stopped before giving me a name I already didn't like. "He said early intervention protects people." "Protects," I repeated. "From what? From paying their own bills? From owning their mistakes? From seeing their father as a person, not a prize? Tears are the universal solvent. They don't cure anything. They soften, which sometimes is the point." She took my hand. "What now?" "Now," I said, "we unpause what they paused. We correct the record. We make a plan that doesn't make me a case." Monday brought the pension office's letterhead and the clipped apology of professionals who discovered a spine they didn't know they had. Pending documents received, cognitive assessment, normal, physician's letter, capacity intact, pharmacy attestation, adherence, community affidavits attached, event footage, link. Disbursements resumed immediately. We regret any distress caused by our review. I took the letter to the community center and pinned it to the corkboard beside Malik's screenshot of me holding 2 aluminum strips like a magician who'd rather reveal the trick than pretend. Beneath it, Pastor Linda taped a sign-up sheet for Hands-on Chemistry for Caregivers, Making Sense of Medicines, a class I hadn't planned to teach and now couldn't wait to. Laura arrived with 2 envelopes. In the first, a formal retraction addressed to the pension office and copied to the county clerk, drafted by the same legal clinic that had once helped me incorporate a garage lab side project. In the second, a note in my daughter's unsteady print. I was wrong. I used fear to justify control. Please teach me how to do better and let me earn my place back in your life. I set the notes beside the lab notebook. You don't get back in with paper, I said. You come back by showing up Tuesdays at 5. The robotics kids need someone to count screws. She nodded. I can do that. And you'll come to clinic Thursday when I teach the medication session, I added. You'll sit in the back and hand out copies, and you'll take notes without comment. Then we'll eat soup in public, and you will not correct me if I call the tongs tweezers. She laughed, which is the sister of forgiveness. We met again on Saturday to test the bonds we'd made 7 days earlier. The data matched the predictions within the range that makes a chemist feel like a human being again. Not perfect, but honest. We logged failures. We celebrated holds. We made notes in the margin of the lab notebook I'd once reserved for work that involved shareholders and safety officers. The shareholders now were 8th graders with stopwatches and retired welders with time. At the end, Malik handed me a certificate the team had made on colored paper. Arthur Green, demonstrated capacity, repeatable methods, clear voice, community backing. Below, a dozen signatures that looked like a town practicing penmanship and loyalty at the same time. Put this on your fridge, he said, next to the mocha score. I'll frame it, I said. That afternoon, I called the pension office and asked for the supervisor. Before you act on a single relative statement again, I told her, require 2 corroborating sources and at least 1 medical note. And make the complainant swear under penalty of perjury. You'll save families from harm dressed as care. She hesitated. We'll take that under advisement. Don't advise it, I said. Adopt it. We ended on good terms, the best terms possible, with an office trained to be careful and a man trained to be exact. That night, Laura washed dishes while I wiped counters. I told Jeremy we're done making decisions about you without you, she said. He said I was being manipulated. By whom? By evidence, she said, and rolled her eyes at herself. By love. Tell him to come to class, I said. Sometimes people change when they meet the group that will hold them to the truth. We ate soup at the same table where Christine once laid out a periodic table placemat for our girl and laughed when she pointed to Ao and said, "Gold!" like the punchline of a joke adults pretended not to get. Laura traced the stain the ladle had made in the wood. "I miss Mom," she said, "and I think I tried to fix that by holding something else too tightly." "Let go carefully," I said. "Use clamps only when necessary." Outside, the town breathed the way towns do when the folks in them agree to be more than headlines. Inside, a retired chemist filed his lab notebook, not because the experiment had ended, but because the next one had begun. Slower, kinder, better documented. I didn't win anything. Nothing was taken back or given. What changed was simpler. My voice sat where it belonged again, neither raised nor hidden. And when the pension deposited on Friday, it felt like what it is, earned. If this story spoke to something true, quiet work, clear boundaries, dignity over drama, tap like, subscribe, and share in the comments how a community helped set the record straight in a hard season. Stories like these hold better when more hands steady them.